It looks like war at the border, as what they're calling the border invasion, is once again escalating. So according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection sources, border officials encountered upwards of 14,000 illegal migrants at the southern border between Saturday and Friday. Leading the encounters was the Tucson, Arizona sector, with more than 2,000 apprehensions or arrests of illegal migrants. And that's on top of the more than 1,000 gotaways on Saturday. This follows the problematic trend since President Joe Biden took office. Basically, illegal border crossings dip around January and February and then tick back up in March, just before exploding in the spring. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening again right now. Republican governors are arming up, as Tennessee Governor Bill Lee just deployed 50 of his state's very own National Guard to the border. Last count, 12 Republican states have sent personnel to Texas or kept existing personnel in Texas since January 10th. Former President Donald Trump has made immigration a central campaign message and spent nearly every appearance on the campaign trail talking about the issue while touting what he would do about it should he win another term. In his words, "We're going to straighten things out." And Biden? Well, Biden just seems to be falling in line behind Trump, saying that he'll join Trump and that they can do this together. What do you guys think? Could this be war at our border? Let's take a close look in today's video. Here's Tennessee Governor addressing the National Guard troops that he's sending to the border. Check this out.
Governor Bill Lee visited Tennessee National Guard soldiers at the Millington, Tennessee Army National Guard Armory in Memphis. This comes ahead of their deployment to the southern border. Last month, Governor Lee committed to deploying 2 waves of state active duty soldiers to Texas to assist in their efforts. News 2's Blake Easton served as a pool reporter on the trip. He asked Governor Lee if the violent crime we've seen across the country could continue to make its way to Tennessee.
Certainly, we have concerns about not only the people that are dying in our state because of the increased levels of fentanyl, hundreds of thousands of pounds of fentanyl crossing over the border and making their way into all of our states, but when you have criminals coming into this country, we should all be concerned about that.
You heard him, guys. He's worried about criminals entering our country, especially with the recent news about Georgia nursing student who was killed by an illegal immigrant just a few days ago. Now, I'm telling you guys, millions all over the world are praying for America with what's happening at our border. Now, according to the latest numbers, it's looking like another spring surge in illegal migrants. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection confirmed that border officials encountered upwards of 14,000 illegal immigrants at the southern border between Saturday and Friday. Things got especially wild in the Tucson, Arizona sector, with more than 2,000 apprehensions of illegal immigrants. And that's on top of more than 1,000 gotaways on Saturday. If things go on this way, we could easily see illegal immigration beat the record number in December when U.S. Border Patrol reported that there were more than 300,000 encounters. The figures have followed a trend since President Biden took office, whereby illegal border crossings dip around January and February, but then they tick back up in March just before exploding in the spring. Fox News reporter Bill Melugin tweeted about it, saying that if no action is taken, buckle up for the rest of the year. If the last 3 years are any indication, especially if migrants feel the need to get in before Biden is potentially voted out of office. Definitely a very interesting take there. So are these illegal immigrants worried about Trump becoming president again? Could they be rushing to cross the border while Biden is still present and the border being wide open? I may not know the answer to that, but for sure, the border has become central to the 2024 presidential election. We saw that in the latest polls, and the fact that Biden and Trump both made dueling trips to the Texas border just a few days ago. Biden chose to visit Brownsville, Texas, and an area of the Rio Grande Valley where illegal crossings have dropped sharply. Meanwhile, Trump visited Eagle Pass, an area that has become a flashpoint between Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott and the Biden administration over how the president has been handling illegal immigration. Republican governors are coming out in full support of Abbott and Texas too. In the latest news, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, he is deploying 50 of his state's National Guard members to the southern border. Now, according to Lee, this is his way of showing the rest of the country what it means to lead. Now, like I said, this is an initial deployment of 50 members that will last through March before a second wave replaces them later in the spring. We're just halfway through this video and we've only scratched the surface. This is a very complex issue with a lot of different perspectives. Now, if you're finding this video informative, hit the like button and let me know in the comments what you think. And while you're there, consider subscribing for more content like this. Now, let's continue. Here's the map so far, guys. Texas scorecard previously reported that Florida, Idaho, Ohio, Oklahoma, and North Dakota either had personnel in Texas at the border or were working to send some. Now, after Texas Governor Greg Abbott's press conference in Eagle Pass that included 13 Republican governors, top officials in Arkansas, Iowa, Indiana, Louisiana, Missouri, Utah, and Tennessee are also pledging to send troops to Texas. We saw Tennessee's deployment earlier in this video. Now, apart from them, Missouri Governor Mike Parsons also promised during the trip to get more of their state's guardsmen to South Texas. A Missouri National Guard spokesperson told the press that the state already has roughly 250 guardsmen deployed at the border. Speaking at a news conference in the Iowa state capitol one day after returning, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds said that she informed Abbott that her state stands ready to be able to send Iowa National Guard soldiers and Iowa State Patrol officers to Texas. She also said that if we want this crisis to end, then we have to help stop it because the president won't and hasn't. The federal government won't and hasn't. The additional 7 Republican governors who have pledged aid were all part of the recent Eagle Pass trip and previously signed onto the January 25th joint statement in support of Abbott and Operation Lone Star. It puts the total number of Republican states that have sent personnel to Texas or keep existing personnel in Texas to 12 since January 10th. Now, according to Gallup's February polling, 28% of Americans overall say immigration is the most important problem, which is up from 20% in January and 8% last June. This is especially true among Republicans, with 57% of Republicans saying immigration is top of their concerns, which is up from 37% in January. An ABC News Ipsos poll from January found Biden had just an 18% approval rating for his handling of immigration at the southern border, and he has the lowest rating on immigration for any president in the past, at least according to ABC News and Washington Post polls. Former President Donald Trump is making immigration a central campaign message and has spent nearly every appearance on the campaign trail talking about the issue, meanwhile touting what he would do should he win another term. So far, he has vowed to implement a series of policies, including reinstating and expanding his controversial travel ban on people coming into the United States from certain majority Muslim countries, conducting what he calls the largest deportation operation in the country's history, and a revamp of his 2016 campaign, continuing work on the southern border wall. Now, as Trump said, we're going to straighten things out. Trump supporters are all for it, saying Trump 2024. These people are those who are absolutely sick of the things that they've been seeing. They want America first and no more money for Ukraine. The former president has made sweeping promises on immigration before, though he couldn't fulfill some of those key pledges, either because he had faced legal roadblocks or Democratic-led resistance in Washington. During his first presidential campaign, Trump made the ambitious vow that he was going to build a new wall along the southern border. And up to now, Trump continues to talk about the barriers as one of the biggest accomplishments during his presidency, frequently reminding voters at 2024 campaign rallies that he built and renovated nearly 500 miles of the border wall. Trump also implemented a signature travel ban during his first term, rejecting visas to people coming from countries that he claimed didn't have enough screening, including Iran, Syria, Yemen, Libya, Somalia, and North Korea. Trump has projected that if he is elected again, he will deport millions of unauthorized immigrants and end so-called catch and release practice in which migrants are arrested at the border and then released from the government's custody to appear in court later. Trump is campaigning on the message that he will terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration, beginning with what he claims to be the largest domestic deportation in American history. That would probably mean the mobilization of numerous law enforcement officials and expanded detention facilities across the country just to process the new arrests. So to do that, Trump has vowed to direct massive portions of law enforcement toward immigration enforcement, including the federal agencies like the FBI and moving troops who are currently stationed overseas. Trump has said that he's determined to fulfill the policies that he started to implement on immigration during his first term, especially with criminals and terrorists pouring through the border, according to him. He's also campaigning on the promise of bringing back his Muslim ban and even implementing an ideological screening screening for those coming into the country. Trump says that some immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country. Just recently, Trump has labeled illegal migrants in this country as violent criminals and says he wants to focus on migrant crime, including the recent killings of Georgia college student Laken Riley. Police have charged Jose Ibarra with the murder in connection with Riley's death, but he has not yet entered a plea. He was previously arrested by U.S. Customs and Border Protection for unlawful entry from Venezuela. Meanwhile, Biden is trying to reach out to Trump to get Congress to reconsider a bipartisan border agreement. Biden addressed Trump directly, saying, "Join him or Biden will join Trump in telling Congress to pass the bipartisan border security bill." He said they can do this together. Now, could this be Biden conceding to Trump in a way? I'm gonna let you guys think about that for a minute. Needless to say, the crisis, the war at the border, definitely needs a response sooner than later. And that's exactly what House Speaker Mike Johnson is insisting on before they even take up this $95 billion foreign aid package that the Senate approved for the Ukraine and other countries. So basically, they need money at the border. Kathleen Bush Joseph, a policy analyst with the U.S. Immigration Policy Program at the Migration Policy Institute, explained that when we're talking about piling restrictions on restrictions, if you don't have the funds to implement them, then the same challenges arise. Talking about an asylum ban, you need asylum officers who can apply that ban as a part of the credible fear process. And if you don't have enough asylum officers, then the ban cannot be applied at the border and it has to be applied years later in immigration court. So until you fix these fundamental restrictions, fundamental resource limitations, you just cannot apply these quick asylum denial processes to the majority of migrants. So yeah, we need something done at the border and we need Congress to prioritize it so that the money can get there. America first, as they say. Because let me tell you guys, too many people are saying that they're sick and tired of our money going to other countries and every representative in DC. For a lot of Americans, they're starting to see the entire government as not acting on behalf of tax-paying citizens. But what do you guys think? Do you think that they should prioritize our borders before sending more money and weapons to Ukraine? Drop your thoughts and comments down below. You can be sure that we'll pick this up again in another video. Just don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.